But again, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate taking the time, and it was really awesome that Jose was like, "Hey, you should talk with Jacob Cass," and I was like, "Heck yeah, let's do it." So
Yeah, Jose was on our pod. I must be like 5 years ago now. We have a podcast called Just Branding. I run it with a co-host, and yeah, he was one of the first in the first season, I believe, that we got on because I had come across him and through the Future, which is another platform run by Chris Doe, and his program, The Core. And that's how our worlds kind of collided when I was just kind of getting more into strategy, and that was one of the big courses at the time or programs in that world. I think the positioning of that course has changed a little bit around brand strategy. There was kind of some confusion around that word, but
yeah,
yeah, that's the origin story of Jose and I.
yeah, that's really cool. So you've been in this space for a long time, right? Like, as I was doing my stalking, I'm like, oh, this cat's been around since the early 2000s. You started in such a cool way where you had a blog about design while you were in design school. That is, I mean, that's just cool, old school, classic stuff. And then that turned into a relationship with an agency. They headhunted you and sucked
Yes,
you
that's
in.
correct. Yes, that's exactly the story. So we can just skip the whole origin story. You've done it.
Yeah. Well, I want to know, like, maybe even before that, how did you become interested in design? And then, was agency life something that you saw in your future, or did that just happen?
It happened. The How I got into design was kind of by chance. Also, I naturally was attracted to creative subjects at school, and definitely repelled against math and science and so forth. So it was in my bones from the beginning that I was more of a creative soul. But it wasn't until I saw my careers advisor in high school, and they told me about graphic design as a career, that the light bulb kind of went off. And that's when I knew that's kind of what the direction I was going to go. I didn't know about all the different types of designer roles out there. Like, I didn't know the industry at all. I just knew that I liked making stuff, and I didn't even want to say drawing because I'm a terrible drawer, but I did, I did a lot of tracing and coloring and that sort of stuff. And we did have a graphic design class at high school, and I still have the book today that has all my artwork in it. My very first logo, not too bad actually. I had a negative space in the logo back then, so that was kind of cool. Um, and yeah, from there I went to university and studied visual communication for 3 years, and that's when I was running the blog called Just Creative Design at the time. It's now called Just Creative, and yeah, I was sharing all about my design work through the university and my studies. And that introduced me to the world of blogging, which was just starting up at that stage. It was very tight knit communities. And, you know, blogging was kind of like, not frowned upon, but it was kind of like you're a weirdo. You'll have like an online diary, and
Yeah.
that's
Uh
what blogging was all about.
huh.
But I saw the other side of it, and I learned about blogging and how you could attract people to your brand and your services. And it wasn't just about diaries, you could actually make money from it. So that led me into web design as well. And I had a bit of experience with web design, through GeoCities, and a mate at school had some knowledge about web design. So he taught me about it as well. So I kind of had this like cross pollination of graphic design class, web design, and blogging. And that got the attention of an agency in I missed one thing, social media. So I was very active on social media. This was, Twitter was starting up, Facebook, and I was very active on there. And at this time, agency life, agencies were still stuck in the old ways. They didn't even have digital departments. So this was like 2005, 2007 kind of year. And yeah, that got the attention of the agency in New York City. So I was based in Sydney. They offered me a job through Twitter, and I said yes. But I still had 6 months to go to graduate, and they said that's okay. That's okay. You can come over when you're done. So I did that, and I went from being a design student to working with brands like Nike, Disney, Red Bull, Jerry Seinfeld. I was like, holy shit, this is like a catapult of a career. I didn't know anything about New York, anyone. I found an apartment the day before my flight. It was quite the journey, man. It was,
Yeah,
um, yeah. So that's how I got into New York, and I'll cut the story off there, and then we'll see
sure.
where you want to go.
I mean, that's a wild story. It's vastly different from mine. Uh, but when you joined the agency, what was the workflow like? Was it, hey, we need this made for these people, or was it more like what Jose kind of describes, where he he was learning core essentially from these people that they were working with? It was like, oh, this is actually how design gets done, is through this process. Did you?
Unfortunately, not. I was a junior, so I was working on digital projects. So I was an interactive kind of junior designer, and we were doing a lot of pitches at that time for big brands. So a lot of my role was to help with those pitches and win work. So um, because digital was so new back then, it was showing the value of digital, how things work, and the potential of different things. So we were doing like Facebook apps and things like that at that time, and that was my role. I never got to see the strategic side from that agency, but I did transition. This is the next part of the story, which I can move into.
Yeah, go
But
ahead.
I that company that brought me over, I worked with them for 6 months. Then they let me go, and then didn't have a visa for the US.
Oh
So I
shit.
was like, oh fuck, yeah. So I tapped into my network through my blog and social media, and managed to find a job in those 2 weeks in New York. The problem was that the company submitted the form to the customs place wrong, not once, but twice. And
No.
the two, the time elapsed when I had to leave the States. So I had to go home. I saw a lawyer. I figured out, well, they told me about this little kind of loophole, not a loophole, but a different type of visa than what I was trying to go for that I qualified for. And it was called a J1. And basically, it's for any recent graduate within a year is able to get this sort of visa. You can go work for 1 year over in the States. And I was like, holy shit, how lucky is this? So I applied for this visa. I ended up going back to the States, and this visa allowed you um, not go between companies. You could work for whoever you wanted. You didn't have to stay with one kind of company like the other type of visa. So it was kind of unique in that way. So I used that time to shop around with different agencies and find a place that I liked. I worked in house. I found another place where I was at for a couple of months, like contracting. Then I found one I really liked, and I stayed there for about 4 years. And that was where I was working with those other brands like Jerry Seinfeld, and Nintendo was a big one. I did so many gaming websites, and yeah, so that's how I kind of grew as a creative. And at that last agency where I was at for 4 years, I got exposed to more strategic processes. I wasn't doing any of like the account planning or anything, but I was in the room with strategic brainstorming. I was part of huge decks for like big brands, which we won a lot of. So I was working with really top tier people at a mid-sized agency, which was perfect for me. I didn't want to be in like a huge conglomerate. So that's where I kind of cut my teeth in the industry. And then I left and traveled the world for a couple of years, and I ran my business on the road. And that went way more successful than I thought it would. And it went from 1 year of travel to 3 years of travel.
Whoa.
And while running on, like, we went to 88 countries. It was like a massive, massive trip. And then I came home and had a family, and that's where I'm stuck.
That part of the story ends right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what were you looking for in an agency? I asked because I kind of slipped and fell into the agency world. I have no formal background. I didn't study design, marketing. I didn't study anything. So I would have known what to look for in an agency. So I'm curious, like, A, what you kind of look for, and then B, when you left that time there, what did you take with you to your business, and what did you want to kind of do differently?
I have to be honest here and say I didn't know what I was looking for. I was looking for
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
When you have a 2 week time period, you like you hustle hard and you tap into all your resources you can because you literally have a you get kicked out of the country. So it's a, so that was real. But I was applying to pretty much all the jobs. I like startups and big agencies and small agencies, mid-sized agencies. And whenever I could get an interview, I went for the interview. And this particular role seemed perfect for what they were looking for. And because of my interactive web kind of social background, that's what they were looking for. And they were growing that in their department. So I was fortunate enough to grow there. So I was in the interactive digital department within the agency, which got me exposure to like print and then strategy and a few other areas as well. So yeah, it's not. I don't know if that's like the answer you're looking for, but I didn't know.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then so when you were exposed to strategy, were you kind of like, "Oh, this is the thing?"
No, I didn't know it was
No.
strategy. They didn't call it strategy. They called it like accounts planning, and I'm like, that sounds boring as f. I was a naive little designer. I was a junior, like I was straight out of school.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was only exposure through that I didn't really know about, and I only became how I want to say my strategic side definitely came after my travels. Like I traveled for 3 years without taking a phone call. I did everything through email, and it was like I was sold out. I was fully booked. I had systems in place. I had really great SEO. I was only working 4 hours a day, not the full 8 hours. So when I say fully booked, that's what I mean. And like life was great because we got to travel, got to work on the road, and it was cruisy. We didn't have overheads. We were young, free. It was a good time.
That's
Yeah,
cool, man. And then so as you start to kind of lean into the strategy part, that's when you're learning about Jose and Core, and then
exactly.
eventually the future, things like that.
Yeah, that must have been at 6, 7 years ago, I think now. And yeah, that's kind of the word brand strategy was new at that time. And when I learned about that, I was like, holy shit, what the hell have I been doing for the past like decade?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I thought I was doing branding, but it was very surface level. It was very focused much on visual identity versus the strategic side. And it worked really well. And I just know that it could have been much better, and I could have helped my clients so much more and become more of a partner with them, and not just like a hired gun that was doing like one-off projects.
Yeah.
So that's easily said in hindsight, but once you learn that and you understand the strategic side and how you can help a business grow and not just be the creative executioner, then things can really change. And once I learned about that, that's when my business really took off. And I also kind of got into coaching and I was helping other creatives because there's such a gap with that, not just well, just in the market, but in education in general. I believe it's pretty broken with that
Yeah.
side of things. So
I wish I had, because you kind of caught those waves that happened not only in culture, but like technology, right?
I
Blogging,
am an
sure,
early
it was kind
adopter.
of, blogging, sure, like you said, it was kind of this weird online diary thing, but you realize that, hey, this is a way that I can make money. And then Facebook comes around. Well, first it was MySpace, but Facebook comes around and you're like, hey, I think I can apply some techniques to this and make some money. I did not think about any of that stuff. To be fair, I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. kind of, I didn't do super well in high school. I couldn't focus. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't really come from a family that was like, oh, think outside of the box and maybe you can go do this, maybe you can do that. I had a guidance counselor in high school tell me that I should be a septic pumper when I grow up.
Right.
So there
Jeez.
was there
That
wasn't
is
a
rough.
lot there wasn't a lot of people behind me saying like you can do it, Kev, go for it. um at one point in high school I wanted to be a graphic designer, but I didn't know what that was. And for the first 4 years out of high school, I didn't do I didn't do college. I didn't jump into anything. I just kind of existed and lived my life, and I just thought, "Oh, I'm just going to be a nobody." And then I went to college, studied abroad, came back, got a job. That job was terrible. I ended up getting fired from that job. Um, but along the way, this thing inside me kind of grew, which was this drive to figure things out and this drive to do it for myself because I don't work well as an employee. So when I worked at that job, I was just kind of observing what this company was doing, and it was very simple. They would source products from out of the country. They would bring them in, they'd slap a label on it, call it their brand, sold some shit through their website. And I remember when I got fired, I was like, I could do that. It's not that hard. You don't have to do anything. Very quickly I realized it's a lot more challenging than you think, but that was sort of the first introduction into brand for me. Fast forward a couple of years, I started this kids scooter company. It's big in Australia too. The pro scooters.
A race
And
leader or like a
yeah,
race. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so basically what I did was I flew over to China and I found a manufacturer and I worked with them to make a product that looked similar to something in the market. And then I did the website, I did the branding, um, figured out the logistics, where I have to store everything, how do I ship them out when an order comes in, and I did everything that Daniel Priestley now says is the wrong way of doing it. You're supposed to build demand before you build the supply. I built the whole supply system, didn't focus on anything on the demand side of things. Ultimately, that thing kind of shit the bed.
Hmm.
But that was a really fun time and really interesting to me. And the things that I realized that failed, the demand side of things, was well, A was missing. So I was like, that's the fun part. Like I was waiting to get to that part. I never had the opportunity to get to that part. Just so happened that next door to me was a creative agency. And they always liked the things that I was doing because I was just having fun, dicking around, making stupid videos and putting on events and people coming by, things like that. Well, the owner of that quickly became a friend of mine and basically invited me into the agency and was like, "Hey, do you want to try to do this?" And he was very keen on Jose and Chris and basically everything that they were talking about and preaching, but core wasn't something that we had adopted yet. So we made really cool things, really pretty things. Um, I think it was very strategic, but it wasn't strategic from like a process end. We made something that was for their customers and for their brand and kind of defined some of those things, but it wasn't necessarily, well, you told us that this is your core values. So
Yeah.
that's why we couldn't tie it together. So I admitted this in a show recently when I finally learned about core and what is brand strategy now. I essentially use that against my clients. It was a way for me to say, you told me this, therefore I made this over here. You can't you can't tell me that this doesn't match that because that's exactly what you said. Right. And so I think the intention was just off a little bit, but quickly thereafter I realized, no, this is actually a way that I can produce something for somebody that has outcomes in their business. And then sure, I can always lean back on this other thing where I say, well, you told me X, Y, and Z. I need you to tell me not that you don't like that shade of blue, but how that doesn't connect with these people or your values or so on and so forth. So that's kind of my long story of how I got into some of the things that I'm doing right now.
I have a question. Did you end
Yeah.
up selling those scooters? Did you use the frameworks or anything you learned, or what happened to them?
I had a bad partnership in that. So if I were to back up a little bit, the prior to the scooters, I took this same philosophy that I learned at the company that I was fired, meaning source products from somewhere else. So I would go on Alibaba and I would find random products that I thought, well, it's cheap, it's a cheap entry point, and I can brand it. Right. So I did everything from dildos to silicone wedding rings to water bottle infusers to stand up paddle boards. Um, so I was already developing those skills of bringing things over here, trying to put a brand on them, and then I was selling them through Amazon. As I was phasing out that part of my life because it wasn't really working. I didn't sell a lot of dildos, to be honest. I just didn't. So we had boxes of
You just have
dildos
a
in our
warehouse
garage.
of dildos and of scooters, and someone's having a great time in there.
They're having the best time. So I started to dabble in the scooters um, by retailing ones that already existed. And I had built up some cash flow. And then I took that cash and rolled it into, well, now I'm going to go do this for myself. I'm going to cut out that middle person. I'm going to go manufacture my own. So I I had success in the retail end of things when we started Delta. That was the name of the scooter company. I had this big ambition driving the company, and I brought in a partner, an investor in that, and that person was a friend from college, and he had put a lot of money into it, and we both didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't allocate any budget to marketing, which was the stupidest thing that we could have ever done. But the point that I'm getting to is that the partnership itself was bad. So the company is what suffered from that. Um, at the end of it, when we called it quits, he liquidated all of that and basically sold all the units to somebody here in town. And I think it was like a local nonprofit. So they took it, they could sell it. And you still see the scooters around town. Like I'll be driving down the road and I'm like, oh, there's another one of my scooters that is out there that nobody knew it was me or that it
Is that a
existed.
good memory or a bad memory? Seeing those go by.
I think it's really good because it reminds me of what this thing could have been. And it reminds me of what I did wrong. And it reminds me of the power of organizational health and then brand and then actually executing on that brand. Because let's just say I had all of the things in the brand department buttoned up and written on paper. I still didn't put them out there in the world, so nobody would have ever known. But I had a great story behind the name. I had great uh, marketing material and taglines and values in my head, but I didn't realize that that is something that you should share with the world. And so, yeah, I would say there's good and bad memories. Of course, I look at it and go, oh, my first shot at a real business could have been a legit business in like the seven figures.
Yeah.
It had like all the companies were doing seven figures at that time. So I'm like, damn it, I could have really had a good fucking business.
That's the thing with branding, and it's like you're actually growing a brand. It takes time, and it's no wonder that the drop shipping you shared earlier. Like you had so many different topics, but you're just slapping a logo on them. It sounds like versus building an actual brand. So that's the difference. Like, how does your product stand out, and what makes it unique and relevant and differentiated from the others? Like, how is it distinctive versus just like something that's has more substance, more soul, as you mentioned.
Well, and then the next part of that, and people get this mixed up a lot in the brand zone, is you share a lot of things about the product. because we did make the product different. I used a different aluminum that was stronger and a little bit lighter. And, I had different colorways. So I would put that information out there. But it's like I'm selling these scooters to 13-year-old kids. They kind of don't give a shit about that. And I think I could have connected with them on a different level simply by saying, this scooter will make you look cool. That probably would have sold better than this is lighter and stronger.
Yeah,
Like
it's like
they
the
just didn't
product
care.
product fit, right? You're solving the problem of, hey, I want something that's functional, but it also makes me look cool, and it's more of the emotional drive combined with the functional aspect.
Yeah. So that's I look back on that and I go, I learned so much. It just sucks that we had to lose a bunch of money and in 3 years, right? Um, my partner was funding the entire thing and I was working in that the entire time. And I'm not saying it's all my partner's fault. It was certainly mine because I didn't know what I didn't know. And and he didn't know what he didn't know. And there was bad communication. And so I look back at it and go, it was the health of our relationship that really didn't allow that thing to succeed. And then of course I made some fatal mistakes out in my zone too.
All experience, hey, we use that for the next project. And I think that's part of our journey, our story, is that we're learning from each of the things that didn't work as much as what
Yeah,
did.
100%. So yeah, I would say that my path into this space is way different than yours.
Yeah, it's like
Um, I would say you were ahead of the curve and you were riding those waves and thinking proactively and ahead of things. I was not. I was trying to mimic what was out there
well, it's
and
funny you
figure it
say that
out.
about like drop shipping. I always had that in the back of my mind. Like, yeah, I could buy this and then put a logo on it, build a brand, and I just never created my own product, like physical product. For some reason, for whatever reason, I was also always drawn to digital products and digital things, and I never really released anything physical. So, um, yeah, it's cool to hear your story and how you did it. And like I got targeted so often for like drop shipping companies and how to start this. I think I bought like a mini course at one point. I just
Huh?
never took it. So it could
Yeah.
have been one of my paths.
I mean, it was a thing. And I think if you got into that thing, you could make some money for, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. Right. But inevitably, it's a race to the bottom because, especially if you use Amazon as your selling platform, which is really enticing because you can make money pretty quick. You have a huge audience, couple little SEO tricks, you get right up to the top and you're selling. But the problem is somebody else can buy that exact same product and your manufacturer will actually put their logo or your logo. They don't even give a shit, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
there's no loyalty in that world. And then all they have to do is drop it a dollar
Yep.
and they'll sell more than you. And then you drop it a dollar and then they drop. And then all of a sudden you're selling this thing for, 99 cents and
Hmm.
it just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
And you're
I
like,
see
I'm
that
out.
on Temu. Like if I'm shopping for something there, you can like if you scroll further down, there's always someone else that has like a dollar cheaper or like some combo that looks cheaper, but their postage it costs like $1 higher or whatever. So there's all these like tricks, and there's just so many vendors selling the same thing. It's such a race, and that like Timo for example is like exactly what not to do in terms of like racing to the bottom and being the cheapest. You don't want to be in that spot. There's only one winner there, and that's the
Yeah,
lowest.
it is. Yeah. That's, if I think about it, that's actually the first time that I also tried a digital product. What I would do on my Amazon listings at the time, let's say I was selling a scooter, I would attach a free scooter guide to it and it would come as a digital download. And so I would kind of recycle material that I had used internally or maybe on social media, something that pointed out all of the different parts on a scooter and how to replace a broken part or maybe tag on to the end of that how to do a couple of tricks or something like that. So I was attaching a digital product to the physical one in hopes that they would buy mine over the person who was lower than me.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
so so I don't think I at the time I didn't quite focus on like I could just sell this digital product. Like this could just be something I sell and I don't have to spend $200,000 bringing a product over here on a boat and putting it in a warehouse. Like duh, Kev. I should have just thought about that back then.
Oh man. Oh, okay. Where to from here, Pev? Kev?
I don't know, man. I mean, since we're on digital products, I
Yeah,
kind of like to know
I
what
did have this
what
train
you
of
got
thought when
on.
you were talking. So digital
Yeah.
products. I recently created a workshop around this because people have been asking about digital products. How do you do this? How do you do that? So I tried to put together a system of how I created and marketed and sold digital products. So I ran this workshop a couple of months ago, and it was like a 4-step process that I went through to that I kind of backtracked on how I did things. So whether it be a font or a summit or a course or whatever it is, there was some steps I just always went through, and I wanted to teach this to other people because you know so they didn't just have to rely on like that feast and famine cycle of working with clients all the time. How can they have a product that works while they sleep, like it's sold while they sleep? And everyone wants that passive income. So I tried to systemize that. I'm going to try to remember a little bit of that. But first was like ideation. How do you take what like the value you have and your expertise? Everyone has that. So it's really identifying what value you have, and then also some of the problems in the market, and also looking at competitors. So it's kind of like the branding process, but in a digital product context. And then we actually, in the workshop, so we came with ideas and we had 5 minutes and then you'd go into the next stage. The next stage was about uh, uh, creating the product. So how do we create it? What product? What do we need to create the product? What software? What tools? Is it a PDF? Is it a download? Is it a physical? No, not a physical thing. Is it where is it hosted? All those sorts of questions. So you go from ideation to creation, and we in that 5 minutes after like explaining the whole process, they go and work on it for 5 minutes, and it's all about momentum, trying to get things out of your head onto paper. How do you actually make it? So you have a plan forward. What do you need? What's it look like, and so forth, and what problems does it solve? And then we moved into kind of the marketing and growth phase, which is kind of like bridging that gap. So here's the value, here's the product, this is what it exists. How are we going to sell it? What's the potential title? What are the key points? And pretty much how are we going to market it? So then we go spend time on that. And the last stage is in the growth and scale phase, where you capitalize on the success you've had, but then you start thinking about how you actually integrate that further into your brand and system, which we kind of do in the first 1 or 2 stages as well. But here's where I actually implement it. So it's like, how do we actually scale this? How do we make it? How do we get more visibility on our products so it works while we sleep? So those sorts of things. And throughout this process, I'm teaching them with a case study of my own. So I go through how I built a font or designed a font with I collaborated with someone else, and how I went through that process, those 4 steps, and shared exactly how to do it to give them inspiration for their product as well. So yeah, it was really successful, and I've had people tag me like I launched this product, and they're getting traction. So it's cool to see the impact on that side of things, and it works.
Yeah. I'm super interested because it's a space that I've never even played in. And I think I think for me it's probably I know it's like a blockage in my brain. It's because it's such a vastly different space for me that I've just never played in that I can't wrap my head around it. I think the other part of it is that I struggle, and I promise I'm not trying to make this about me, but I struggle seeing the value that I can actually provide to somebody in a digital product because, well, first of all, the tool's already out there, core is already there, brand strategy is already there, all these things. And I'm speaking just in my little industry bubble. The only, how do I say this? I see a tool, and then I see myself using that tool and making connections. I'm doing a terrible job of
No, okay,
describing this.
this is
It's
a
like a
big
it's a
roadblock.
translation thing, right? It's like, how do I, if I made a tool for you right now and I gave it to you, would you see the same value in it that I do? Because really the magic happens in my brain, right? And it's like, how do I get that out? And so I guess I'm just saying that I struggle with these digital products because I can't see that value. Like, how can I actually give someone what's in my head?
So this is the big step at the beginning is trying to get your thoughts on a paper, the value that you have, because yes, there are 101 things out there, but no one has Kev Mooney's experience, right? Your experience. So how do you bring that, make it something unique and different and package it in a way that's valuable to the end consumer? So you have to understand their problem at firstly. But before we do that, we do spend time getting your thoughts down. Like, what value do you have, and how could you actually productize that? It's a
Yeah,
big portion of it, and you'll be surprised if you just go through the motions of writing things down with a time limit that how much can come out, and then you just move on to the next. Okay, well, let's do this again. Like, how would we actually create this? What does it look like? So you're literally going through those steps, and if you're forced with the time limit, you'll be really surprised. So
interesting.
just for example, like that whole system, I didn't have that system before, and I wanted to figure out a way that folks like yourself could actually go through that and create something and get out of your head. It's like, I don't have value, I don't know how to do this, or the momentum, asking those questions in that right order, it gives you an understanding of how to do it. And the problem, well, the biggest challenge is that people create it and then they don't know how to market it. And this is where I spend a lot of time as well. In the case study, I actually go through how I did it, and a lot of it is focused on the pre-buzz. Like 80% of it is focused on the pre-buzz, getting people along on the journey, so that you're building with them and they're coming along for the ride. It does mean you need a bit of an audience in the beginning if you're selling on your own platform. However, if you don't have your own platform, there are other platforms you can sell on as well.
Sure.
So in the creative marketplaces like Envato, Creative Market, and so forth, just as an example. So all these kind of roadblocks that I pick up from people, like I don't know what to do, I don't know what to sell, I don't know how to get in front of people. Like that's what I walk them through, so they can see, I get it now, and then they're inspired to like, okay, let's go do this.
Yeah, and so how did you come up with that? Did you learn that from somebody else, a coach, by observing the world? What does that look like?
Well, I had to. It's by experience, right? You release your own product and you go through the motions. You're like, okay, well, I'm investing this much. I think the first time I really learned was through a course, selling my first course. So I invested in, creating the course. I hired a videographer, and it was my first course. I wanted to really do it well, and then I had to go through those motions. Like, what is the course? Who's the course? How am I going to package up my skills? How am I going to market it? How do I get it out there? And so forth, outside of my network. So I actually partnered with a different company. They had a bigger audience and so forth. So those sorts of things I learned from. And then I brought out another product, like a font this time. And I collaborated with a typeface designer to create something. So that's another roadblock I didn't mention, is like some people think I have to package this up and I have to do it, which is not the case, right? You can
Yeah.
come up with an idea, you can find the, the product market fit, and then hire someone else to build it out. So I was a creative director. I hired a type designer. I also hired a professional type, or cover graphic designer for fonts. So I'm a graphic designer, but I actually hired an expert in that space to communicate the value of fonts. So it's like working with experts. If you really want to make a great product, you have to think about, or think outside of just you, right? How would you bring this to life in the real world? If this was actually a physical product, like you have done, like drop shipping, what's the process you would go through as well? You can apply that to digital space too.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And so you did a few digital products, and then you were like, "Hey, these live in perpetuity. I'm gonna now build a
Yeah.
community and do public speaking and all of those fun things." Or like, do they all kind of happen at
No,
once?
I'm a bit of a creative drifter, Kev. That's what I like to call myself. I do drift between projects, and that's a double edged sword. I do, as you would have heard, I'm quite an early adopter and I have been since the beginning. But that's also what some people call shiny object syndrome.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And
Fair.
I love that. I do love that because it keeps things interesting. But I've also had gone down some paths that led nowhere and were a waste of, I don't want to say time, but I could have been spending that time on other things like, NFT and crypto and Web3 came out, and I started a company with 10 other people, which was a big mistake. And I learned from that. But it just, um, it made me realize not to jump into things with big teams and keep things small and nimble. And yeah, you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. But yeah, I learned from all those experiences, and that kind of led into a summit that I started last year, my first large event. And I used all those skills of, creating a digital product, events, doing podcasting, collaboration, using my network, email marketing, design, like it's all the things I love, and created a really big event. And I'm doing that again this year. It's actually next month, and well, in September, I should say. And yeah, it's just, I love it. All those things, like using all your kind of background and experience and packaging it up and giving values to other people. That's really what it's about.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I'm certainly envious of all of the things that you're doing. And I say that because I have sort of a roadblock where, you know, Jose had mentioned this in the call that I did with him. He's kind of the spark, the ignition to things, and then he likes to just let other people run with it. And I'm kind of the same way. I don't want to do all those things. I don't want to set up an email list and build an email list and to a community. I know what the answers are. I'm just saying out loud that I don't enjoy doing all of those things. So I am envious of the people who do enjoy doing those because they produce outcomes, right? They just simply do. And that's got to feel really really good. And on my side of the table it feels kind of shitty to not want to do all of those things. Know you probably need to be doing all of those things and then you don't have necessarily all of those outcomes.
Well, Kev, it goes both ways. Like I'm envious of, I'm envious of things of people that have big visions and can plan really well and don't get distracted. Like this summit that I'm doing is probably my biggest project to date, and that's like a 6 month project, which is like I was surprised that I finished it last year because I'm usually like do something and then change and so forth, and I've always liked that. So yeah, I'm envious of people that have big vision, strategic kind of. Um, were much more visionary, I guess, in a way. So yeah, but yeah, getting on the tools, I've always enjoyed that, and I've kept solo pretty much my whole career. Um, and I just like being the lone wolf. Even when I was working at agencies, I had my earphones in. And I was like, I just did my thing. That's how I like
Yeah.
working. But we haven't. One thing we haven't talked about is the blog side of things, and that was a big arm of my business for many years. And I had a team at its peak around 12 people, and they were scattered around the world. And that was not my design or creative side. It was running the blog. And we had you know, we had 1 million page views at one point, and we're kind of crashed down a couple of years ago to now we have like 8,000 page views a month. So it was like this kind of huge roller coaster um, experience on the blog side of things. Don't know if you want to go down that route, but I wanted to share it.
I mean, I do. What do you think happened there?
Well, I know exactly what happened. Google changed their algorithms, so we were ranking 1 to 3 on so many keywords, and we just had so much traffic, and we could easily rank because of so many years of blogging, and we just knew how to, I don't want to say game the system. We knew how the system worked, and we could reverse engineer it, and we could rank really well, and until it didn't. So Google changes their algorithms, they mix things up, and yeah, pretty much overnight we had this like hockey stick graph. Like we just scaled so much so quickly, and that's when we grew a team of 12. And then over the course of the year, it just went down and crashed pretty much the other side. So it was quite the ride, and we were definitely the glory days when we had it, and we had a lot of passive income coming in because it was like an affiliate-driven website. We'd recommend products on Amazon and Envato and all these other sites, Adobe and so forth. But yeah, things changed, and now we have AI results. We have um, Google prioritizing Reddit and LinkedIn and community platforms versus smaller niche blogs like my own. So yeah, it's really hard to compete now as a small independent publisher.
For sure. I mean, it sounds like the SEO game has kind of always been a huge part of what you do.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, it was pretty much my whole business from 2007 to like 2022, I guess, was pretty much all my leads were coming through social and SEO. But then, yeah, a couple of years ago, things changed and I just couldn't rank really. It was hard to rank on a lot of keywords. So that's when I kind of pivoted into marketing on LinkedIn further and also creating a summit. And I got into coaching and that sort of thing and kind of led into the consulting too. So things changed. But
Yeah. Yeah, I experienced some of that when I was doing the scooters early on. We ranked really high, and that's where we got basically all of our orders from. And I don't remember what year it was, but there was just a shift in the algorithm. It wasn't necessarily even a big one, but we fell off the face of the earth and nobody can find us. And I was like, "Oh shit.
yeah.
What do we do now?" And then we saw another shift happen on the Amazon algorithm and we dropped off the front page there. And I'm like, now both my streams of income for this company are basically gone. Um, it's kind of it's kind of the reason that I've always had a bone to pick with SEO or
Mm,
the term SEO. You know, everyone's fighting over these keywords or these long tail keywords or these phrases or things like that. But I always thought to myself, why not just create our own keywords? Why not create our own searchable term that everyone's looking for? Then we should naturally rank at the top. You know, you have to assume that if somebody searches for just do it, Nike's going to show up. But nobody's really trying to rank for just do it. They're trying to rank for tennis shoes or shoes for outdoor wear or whatever those words are, but they're not optimizing for just do it. It just never really I could never reconcile that in my brain.
mm. Did you ever use that to your advantage?
Uh I did for like some tests. Um we ran we wrote some blogs at the agency and we had funky names for it like chicken coops and kitchen sinks. And if you search those words, we showed up number one for it. And so I would be like, see, you can rank for anything that you want, but now you have to convince people to search for chicken coops and kitchen sinks. So we ran it in like a test scenario just for fun, but I haven't necessarily used that um, to my advantage. No, but
Yeah, I
it's
think it's an interesting idea, and that's why I was curious if you applied it. Because the other side of it is like you're not getting buyer intent people unless you're marketing the keyword, which is a whole thing in itself.
right. So you're still driving the traffic there anyways. It's not necessarily a natural search term.
Yeah.
Um, but I still think that there's some sort of value in it. And I just don't know what those words are exactly yet and how I could market that to
So
drive
I'll tell you
someone.
my search strategy. It was very simple. It was best X for designers. So it's like best computers for designers, best monitors, best mouses, best yada yada. And we just did that. That was our keyword. Buyer intent people, we could rank well. We knew how to do all the H1s, H2 keywords and everything. And we just did that at scale. And that's what the team of 12 were doing. They're just pumping out those sorts of listicles. And then you go into a different vertical, like best, like best simple fonts, best line fonts, whatever, or like something brushes, and then you just do that at scale, and you just a new keyword, and if you have that system going, like it's so easy, and you could just do anything that, well, you pretty much threw anything at the wall to see if it stuck, and
Yeah.
5 out of 10 would stick, and that's fine. That's fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did you ever venture out of the creative space and
Yeah, and
have the
that's when
best
shit
or
went down. That's when things changed. So I got into, gaming, and then I got into TVs. At one point, I think we even had air conditioners on there, like, it was, like, crazy. So we got
whoa.
known as a tech review site instead of a creative site, and that's when it wasn't just our site that, got affected, like, pretty much the whole industry did, like, affiliate-driven sites got affected. But we kind of cut back, and we went through like a big culling of anything that was not related to creative subjects, or design, and got rid of all of that, and deleted like hundreds, maybe thousands of articles to bring back um, the niche focused version of our site. So
Yeah.
yeah, because that's what all the SEO blogs were saying, and like the big SEO leaders and everything were saying, like, you need to have a focus. You have to look at what's been cut, because all those like irrelevant articles got cut, and you had to look at what actually was getting cut. So it's Google, you could reverse engineer, like, well, Google sees you as this site. This is what you're going to rank for. So you should go in this kind of direction. And
Yeah.
that's what we did. And we kind of got an uplift. And then they changed the algorithm again. And it's like,
Those
it's
sneaky
a constant battle,
bastards.
man. But there
Yeah.
was a good couple of years of like glory days being able to do
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that whole time period. I remember I probably saw all of your best X of
it. Most
one.
likely.
I was probably just like, "These fucking guys, man. What are they? Oh my gosh, I can't stand this." But I know it serves a purpose. I get it. So where do you think the SEO stuff is going now with all
Well,
this AI?
yeah. So last year, I had our first client who found me through AI, through ChatGPT in particular. So they were looking for best freelance brand designer. I was number one
Were
when
you
they.
on the best train again? We're
Yeah,
back there?
that's what they. Yeah. So
Wow.
I hadn't optimized anything like that. I didn't have an article, I didn't have a keyword on my site or anything that was related to that, except for, my homepage. It had brand designer in some of the H1 tags and things. But it was just through, well, how ChatGPT works, and especially on the web and scraping and everything. It's like it's references of your name and keywords in that kind of realm. And that's what it would have picked up, just because of all the history from blogging and, just being on the web for a while. It picked those sorts of things up. So I didn't optimize for chat, and I think that's a whole new game that we have to learn. But it's getting increasingly more complex, because it's not just about keywords; it's about everything. It's measuring your social influence. It's measuring like your what books you have out, what podcasts you've been, on, what like how many videos you're on, and everything. It's a holistic kind of network of your name and what you've put out there, and basically it's all about trust. And should Google, is this relevant, is it trustworthy, is it going to help solve the problem of the person that's searching for this? That's really what it comes down to. So if you can do all those things, then you're going to come up first in search.
Yeah. I've done I've done that search. I've searched for myself not by looking or asking, my name, but I've been like, what are the best branding agencies? What are the best marketing agencies? And
Yep. But they're sneaky. Chat is sneaky. It's like they know you. They're like, I'm just going to
yeah,
pick Kevin to this one.
yeah. What's really interesting right now is it's pulling. I do show up in there. Of course, it's going to tell me, but it's pulling up the agency that I had previous to this that is since
Okay.
closed down.
Yeah.
But I've mapped the domain to my domain and things like that. So I'm kind of pulling some of that old juice over
Yeah.
here, but it
Is
it
that
still
recently?
rings.
Because I'm curious. Was this a recent search? Because they should be updating the data set by now.
Yeah, I would say it was within like 2 months or something
Okay.
like that.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's weird that it still shows up, and I don't know why, but I know that domain existed here locally for, yeah, 15 years. So
Yeah.
it's probably, it is now officially down and off the web. So I bet if I looked again, it would be gone. But yeah, I don't know, that the AI thing is pretty crazy. I don't, I guess it's probably not even AI, it's LLMs, but it's a wild thing out there and people are freaking the fuck out about it.
Hmm.
And I
But
don't
yeah,
I don't know exactly what to say about it, I suppose.
it's it's a topic. It's a hot topic, right? That every day you see a discussion about it. Even in my own private community, like there's pretty much every week there's like a couple of posts written about um like what do you think of this, and like how do I do this, or the CC kind of symbol. There's always something anyway. um it is a hot topic because people are losing their jobs. It's a real thing, and the landscape is changing, especially in the creative industries, because the whole model is changing, especially for agencies. The bottom rung of, I guess, design in general is being eroded. So, small startups, they can just go to Canva, get a template, customize it. Design is becoming more commoditized, which is a shame, but it's also a good thing because it's an opportunity for creatives to become more strategic and kind of get into that partnership role. I'm not saying you have to be a partnership, but it's going to be you're going to provide more value, and more value means more in your pocket as well if you know how to position yourself. And I think it's yeah, I think if we use it as an opportunity to actually be more than just a designer, and I'm a designer. I'm not saying just a designer by like any means. I just mean thinking more strategically, providing more value. That's kind of what I'm alluding to.
Yeah. Do you ever spiral out of control with this topic and think, cuz Heather Crank was just telling me about the Diary of a CEO
Mm,
episode with Moga Watt. I can't say his name right now. The ex CEO of Google,
okay.
something like this, or technology guy.
No,
I don't
I
I
didn't
don't know.
listen to it.
Oh, well, it's I haven't finished it, but it's kind of like doom and gloom. It's like
Yeah.
we're going to have AI leadership in the world, and it is forming clusters of patterns that are learning from each other and moving on. And I guess my question is, do you ever spiral out of control and say, what are we doing if this shit is going to happen and the robots are literally on the way and they're taking over? What is going to happen? Do I just learn farming now? Is that what I'm supposed to be
I
doing?
I don't easily get freaked out. I have a bit of a barrier. I don't read the news. Well, I don't watch the news, I should say. I kind of scroll Reddit for some headlines here and there, but I don't really buy into all of that. I try not to. Like, sure, whatever way you look at it, you can probably put a doomy gloom on anything. But yeah, AI is one of those fundamental shifts. I'm not going to downplay that. It's like the industrial revolution. I think that's the one of our age. I love the prospect of it and how powerful it's been for me, just like LLMs in general. But yeah, like if you look at other industries, which we often, we just kind of stay in our bubble, but you think about other industries and how they've been revolutionized, like in medicine, for example, it's just like it's crazy what's being done. And like at the end of the day, it's like it's software, right? AI is about software, and we kind of have the creative industry kind of thinks about it like as Gen AI versus
Yeah.
like this idea of it being more than just yeah. Anyway, whole other topic.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I was just curious if your brain spirals out of control like mine does. I think that I always lean back on some level of logic and just like trust in humanity. Um, but I certainly am known to spiral out of control
Okay,
sometimes.
all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, I'll just like look the other way. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna get on with my day.
Yeah, very cool. So I'm I really want to know about the Brand Builders Alliance and what that is like. You don't have to tell me how you built the damn thing, but I'm just so curious about this community and where it came from, what the idea is behind it, where it's going, because I'm relatively new to these things.
Okay, cool. So, for context, the Brand Builders Alliance is a membership community for brand builders. So, designers, creatives, anyone that's kind of getting into that strategic space is there to help them master branding and build a thriving creative business. So, we have three pillars, which is community, resources, and mentorship. So, it's this like kind of hybrid approach to a community. Often you'll get communities or memberships focus on mastering branding or how to build a business. This is a combination of both of and that's kind of our focus. So where this membership came from was backtracking a few years when COVID started. People were stuck indoors. I started two masterminds, and and I really enjoyed that. I kind of got into coaching and yeah, running masterminds, and that led into starting my first community, and I ran that for 1 or 2 years, and that kind of fizzled out because I set the price too low and I spent too much time and over delivered there. And I learned from that. I kind of transitioned that into a higher tier offering with coaching support. I brought in more support. I learned from all those experiences. I interviewed brand builders and designers and really tried to understand what they wanted. And that's when the community 2.0 came out. So I transitioned from that one community to the Brand Builders Alliance. And yeah, we started in February this year, and yeah, it's been going really, really well. How we got it off the ground was I ran a summit last year for brand builders. This was the first virtual event that I've run. It was a 4-day free virtual event for brand builders. I had a goal of 5,000 attendees, and we ended up getting 23,000 people registered. So it was like a major success. And from that, the people that attended, I kind of got them into the paid membership, and now we have some really great people growing their businesses, and we can really see the impact. So that's why I'm also doing the summit again this year. It was a major success. I've done it again this year, and the idea is to continue the Brand Builders Alliance and get people from the summit into the alliance, so we can help them build their business and on a year-round basis, not just on a 4-day kind of sprint.
Yeah, that's really cool. I saw you posting stuff about it, and for whatever reason, I didn't join. But now I have some FOMO that I didn't join.
Yeah, there's one or two people from the core community in there as well, and yeah, there's good stuff going on. So if you're always welcome is the answer.
Yeah. When does it open back up again? I know it's
Yeah,
closed
it's
for
closed at the
waitlist right
moment.
now.
We have a wait list, so we open a couple of times a year. That's so we can onboard people and make sure you have the right experience. We have the summit coming up in mid-September, and that's when we're going to open up again for the summit. So it's going to be open for that whole time where you can join. There's no wait list or anything. It's just if you're at the summit, you can actually get access to join, and then we'll have like a welcome party, and we'll start the process again for Q4.
Very cool. Um, you said something that has been in my mind for a very long time. This undercharging and over delivering idea. I have no idea how to balance that in this digital product community space. I That's one of those blocks. Like A, I don't know how people are going to actually see the value of what's in my head, and B, I don't know what to charge and how I don't over deliver. Can you kind of just share some thoughts around that? I'm interested.
Well, it comes back to the product, right? It's the classic 4 Ps. You have to understand your product, your price, how you promote it, where you're going to promote it. And if you get any of those things wrong, it can really affect the bottom line, your growth and everything. So you don't always know, and you figure it out along the way, and things do change and adapt. But when it comes to community in particular, you're dealing with people, and everyone has a different understanding of value. People are there from different backgrounds, they at different levels, they're there for different reasons. Building community is notoriously difficult, and I'm not talking about like a bolt-on community here. It's like a place where you feel connected, and you show up for each other, and there's resources there to help you grow. There's different types of communities. There's ones for connection, there's ones for transformation, like an educational side of things. There's ones that are combined both. So understanding all of those things and who your audience is and what they're getting out of it is important. Generally, if they're there to make more money, you can have a higher um, ticket price. If it's there to, it's like a hobby, for example, you'll have a lower ticket price. So you have to understand the goals and who's there and why they're there to help dictate the right price. So for me, in the beginning, I set people were there to connect, but they're also there to build their businesses, and that's where I went wrong. There's because I wanted to over deliver and help everyone, and it was becoming more of a burden, and I don't want to say resenting, but it was a lot to show up for the amount that I put on the ticket price. So that is kind of what I learned. So if you think about the mathematics behind it and the scale, let's say you have a community of 100 or 200 people and they're all there um, paying a low price, you still have to tailor to all of them and give them value. And if you do that at scale, it just gets even worse. You have more people to tend to, you need to hire more support and so forth. And the economies of scale just don't work. So that's what I learned. So this one, I have less people, a higher price, you can give them more. And that means less churn, more impact. So you have to think about those sorts of things. And that's what I learned. So that's where I'm at now.
Very cool. Yeah. I mean, you said all the things that I think about. It's just like how do you actually do that? What are the actual things? And that's a rhetorical question, right? But those are the concepts that have been kind of flowing around in my head in the exploration of going down this path. Is that something that I want to do? Is that something that I can do? Can I deliver that value? And certainly, what is the price and what are the things that I'm delivering to them of value? Um, it's it's a lot. It's not like I'm going to go shoot 100 workout videos and sell you my workout videos. Like, pay me $50 a month and you have access to all my videos. Like, it's not quite like that, at least in my head. Um, I think that'd be kind of boring too. I think that the community aspect sounds a lot more fun and
Well, you have to
engaging.
think about the difference, right? That's the fitness industry, obviously, just to continue that thread is notoriously difficult and competitive because it's easy to enter. But again, the people that you want to listen to, they have a personal brand, they have a personality that you do or don't gel with, and you have to realize that your flavor is not for everyone. But
Hmm.
there's going to be a lot of people that enjoy your flavor and what
Yeah.
you bring to the table. So that's the difference. It's how you do things in your experience. And I think that's what a lot of people get held up on is they're like, someone else has done this before. Like, who gives?
Right.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Do it your way and bring your experience and your flavor because you'll find your people.
Yeah. That's cool. That's encouraging. Not necessarily like I needed a pep talk or a pat on the back or something, but it is encouraging to kind of hear that. Like, yeah, you're right. There is somebody would like to hear something similar, but from me,
Yeah.
and certainly from you.
Yeah. No, that's it's something I hear all the time. It's kind of I don't want to say imposter syndrome, but it's like it's a mindset kind of game, and we put these blockers up on ourselves. So we have to get over that and just take action and build along the way. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can iterate, and that's something else I've learned actually is that stop bringing out new things. Like you can improve the ones you have, and do a 2.0 version of them. So
Sure.
that is another common mistake, and you know rather than building out 10 different courses or 10 different products, like there's just like one place to get it all, right? That
Yeah.
you can sell one thing instead of selling 10 things. So
Yeah,
those
for
sorts of things
sure.
to think about.
Yeah, very cool. So what's next for you?
I've been burning the midnight oil on this summit. It is mid-September. We have 40 speakers over 4 days It's a hybrid event of live events and pre-recorded keynotes, and there's it's going to be good fun. We have live panels, we have design battles, we have Q&As, we have all sorts of good stuff there on strategy, design, business, marketing. So yeah, that's what's next. And then I'm going to continue building the Brand Builders Alliance next year, or Q4 after the summit. So those are my focuses now. I'm doing a little bit of consulting client work, but it's become increasingly more difficult to serve two audiences because I'm serving creatives and brand builders, people in that space. And then, if you send mixed messages, trying to, you know, do identity and consulting work, it's getting more difficult. I used to be able to do this so easily because all my work came through SEO, but as we've
Yeah,
learned, that kind of has dried up, has become more difficult. So yeah, I've had to kind of choose one path versus the two like I was doing. And that's just the reality of things at the moment because you can't do it all. So
for sure.
yeah.
Do you see a life past the things that you're doing right now? All of the activities, summits and communities and digital products. Is there anything after that? Just straight retirement and travel, hit another 88 countries? Like,
I got 4 kids, so I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I'll be working for a long time, but I love it, and I wake up and look forward to going to work, and like I'm very grateful and fortunate to be able to say that, and like wanting to stay up to work on projects like that is what you know I really enjoy. So for me, I feel very fortunate to be in that position, even though I am working a lot, but that's a choice.
it's the name of the game. I get it. I absolutely get it. Cool. Well, you probably got some work to get to. You've been talking
Yeah,
about
it's
this summit, so
I might hit the gym. I've been a bit lazy, so I'm gonna go to the gym and yeah,
cool.
and back to work. So,
Well,
but
I'll
Kev,
let you get
thank
out
you
of
for
here.
the invite, and yeah, it was good to finally meet face to face and talk shop. It's always good
Yeah,
to to share. So, thank you.
I appreciate you coming on and sharing, your background and what you're doing. And for me, it's just fascinating to hear from somebody who's done it. I think as a creative in this industry for a long time now, we see people out in the world doing these things, but it's not often that we get to have a private, intimate conversation where you can just ask any question that you want.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
Well, you made it
appreciate
easy,
you
man.
coming on. Well, I'm happy that it went easy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Thanks, Kev. Stay in touch.